Hi, I'm Dan Sullivan. Welcome to the 12 Immortal Judges podcast. Today we're going to talk about Frederick Police Department Chief Jason Lando and him lying about how he was either recruited to apply to become the police chief of Pittsburgh or he applied. It is perfectly reasonable that Jason Lando applied for the Pittsburgh chief job. He's from Pittsburgh. He grew up in Pittsburgh. He was a police officer in Pittsburgh his entire time. His family all lives up there. He lives in Frederick, which is like 3 hours away. So it's perfectly reasonable to want to, at a minimum, go back to being with your family in the town you grew up in and love. He loves Pittsburgh like I love Frederick. However, he lies. One of them can't be true. Either you were recruited to apply and you applied, or you looked to apply and applied. These two things can't be true. And to lie about something like that is ridiculous. It's stupid. Why would you lie about that? And the other thing is like, he's the chief of police. This is what I think most people would consider not a big deal, but in the world of law enforcement, do you want a chief of police that lies? If he's lying about this, what else is he lying about? I believe in proof, evidence. I have other incidents where he lies. I have some evidence, but I don't feel that evidence rises to the level of proof beyond a reasonable doubt. So right now I'm not going to put that stuff out there. So he does have a history of lying as far as I'm concerned and the police department's concerned. And somebody brought this back up to my attention and I decided to do a podcast about it. What I have as evidence is I have two emails, one on April 8th and one I think on April 27th or 24th. The April 8th, he goes into detail about applying, being recruited, and on the other one, after he didn't get the job, he says he looked for employment. Turns out later on, somebody leaked this to the press, and they did a radio interview about it, and instead of being treated like everybody else, he goes looking for the individual who released the information. I don't know if he got the person or whatever. Nothing was ever said about it after that, which is somewhat typical of the internal process. But the fact that if an officer had been caught lying, there would be an internal investigation, or even if an officer had been accused of lying, there is always an internal investigation, and it is deeply looked into because we obviously don't want cops that lie. Chief Jason Lando lies in writing, gets called out on it, and then starts an internal investigation to find the person who leaked the information about him lying, which shows a lot about character as well and personal responsibility. If you're in charge of an organization, you should be expected to be treated like everybody else and be held to the same standard, if not a higher standard. And he is clearly, in writing, not holding himself to that standard. And a matter of fact, he's seeking out people or persons. I don't know how many people are involved. I have my guesses. But he's looking for them and trying to stop that people calling him out in the future, which that's not right. If you did something wrong, own up to it. However, in this case, it would require termination, and he's clearly not going to terminate himself. So let's get into the evidence here. On April 8th, it was a Saturday, in 2023 at 3:31 p.m., Jason Lando sends this email to everybody in the Frederick Police Department. If you want to get this for yourself, you can go on the FPD webpage. They have Maryland Public Information Act, and you can request a copy of the email. You have the date and time, and just request an email. It's called Recent News Reports, RE Pittsburgh Chief Search, and you'll get a copy of the April 8th. The email starts off with, and I'll read it to you. Good afternoon. Over the weekend, several news outlets in Pittsburgh reported that I was a candidate for the police chief there. I know the news is already spread around FPD and the Frederick community, so I wanted to address this with our members immediately. He then gives the link, and he's correct. That information spread pretty quickly. I think a lot of people felt betrayed. I didn't necessarily feel betrayed personally. I mean, it makes sense that he applied for the job, like I said before, but people were definitely upset and a little shaken by that. And that article had been sent around. It would have been my preference to address this with everybody in person, either at roll calls or when I teach at the up-and-coming in-service training starting on Monday. Unfortunately, the information about the process was prematurely leaked to the media, and now I am forced to have this conversation by way of email. I'm sure he was hoping that they would just announce the winner so that way he'd never have to have this conversation, but let's say he did want to have that conversation, he would have had that opportunity in roll call training if he decided to go to them, or in-service training, which all officers have to attend in-service training, so he would have been able to get FaceTime with everybody there. He goes on. As most of you know, Pittsburgh is where I was born and raised and where I spent my entire police career prior to coming to Frederick. In fact, my whole family still lives in Pittsburgh. When I was recently contacted by a police chief recruiter asking if I would have any interest in returning to Pittsburgh, I was honestly conflicted. I love Frederick, and I cannot express to each of you just how much I care about this police department. This potential opportunity weighed heavy on me, and that was something I discussed at length with my family. I ultimately decided to participate in the interview process in Pittsburgh to see where it led. Those interviews took place last week. I would imagine a final selection will be made in the next 2 weeks. So break, we're going to talk about here. He goes into detail about how this all came about and how he was contacted and everything like that. That's going to be in direct conflict and cannot possibly be true. And one of these things cannot be true in his next email. I want to ensure our entire FPD team that the decision to pursue this opportunity has nothing whatsoever to do with any desire to leave Frederick. In fact, I've declined several other requests to participate in police chief process over the last 2 years because I love this place. My decision had only to do with the fact that I have deeply personal connections to Pittsburgh, and this opportunity may never present itself again. In the event I am not selected for the position, I have no plans to go anywhere else. It is an honor to be your chief, and I am proud of this police department and the great work that happens every day. I will continue to support that great work any way I can. I promise to keep you informed of any decisions that are made once I am made aware myself. All right, so that's the April 8th email. We'll move on to the next email, which comes out Thursday, April 27th, 2023 at 6:38 p.m. He sent this to everyone, the mayor, the alderman, the mayor's assistant, and the public affairs officer for the city of Frederick. The email goes, "Good evening. I learned about 2 hours ago that another candidate was offered the Pittsburgh chief job and that it is supposed to be announced tomorrow. I wanted everyone to get it from me before reading it in the news, unlike last time. As you all know, Pittsburgh was my home, which is why I expressed an interest in the position in the first place. There you go. I'm not involved in any other police chief searches. Thank you all for making me feel so welcomed over the last 2+ years. I look forward to continuing to serve as your chief and to support our outstanding team in any way possible. Be safe." So there it is. Clearly, these two things can't be the same. Like, he expressed interest, looked for the job, or was he recruited? I don't know which one is true. Only the Pittsburgh Police Department, and he knows. So I think that definitely I mean, it's up to you to decide, but I consider that a lie, and I don't consider that being honest and truthful. I don't want that from my leadership. I don't want that from a police chief. I don't want that from officers. I think if you lie, you should be fired. There are cases in which an officer can lie. Obviously, if I'm doing a hostage negotiation situation, police officer can lie. Police officers talk their way into people's pockets to get drugs out. Sometimes that might be a little bit of a lie. I mean, those are just tricks of the trade. Most often than not, police officers do not accept lying in any way, shape, or form. You can't lie on police reports. You certainly can't lie to your subordinates, as you can't lie to your leadership. So I think that goes into the lying. I think we've covered that. I mean, it's clearly a lie to me. It's probably a lie to you. I'm sure it's a lie to all the other police officers that are reading that. So apparently this was leaked to the radio station, and the chief decided to address this in the chief's update number 9 of 2023, May 5th. And down towards the end, he talks about confidentiality. Why I prefer to keep these chiefs update positive and upbeat. Yesterday I was forwarded a link to the WFMD morning show, where I was shocked to hear Ryan Hendricks read aloud over the air the contents of 2 internal emails that I had recently sent to FPD employees. This is completely unacceptable. I previously sent at least 2 reminders to the entire department regarding the importance of confidentiality, yet this continues to occur. Internal Affairs has opened an investigation into the most recent incident. Didn't open them into the other 2. The sharing of internal documents, emails, and sensitive information outside of the walls of the police department, absent an approved PIA request, is unacceptable. Then he goes on to another topic. So, if an officer was accused of lying, just an accusation from, say, a traffic stop, somebody says, hey, this officer lied about my speed. Like, the department is going to conduct an investigation. The Internal Affairs Department is going to interview that office. The Internal Affairs Department is going to pull body-worn camera video footage. The department is going to go out to where it occurred and see if they can pull any other video footage. They're going to interview witnesses, and they're going to do as much as they can to track down that lie. We just read the 2 emails. He clearly lied, and instead of owning it or explaining it, he is going to conduct an investigation into determining who leaked this information, who basically called him out for lying, rather than owning it. Like, okay, I get it, politicians lie all the time. He's not a politician, he's a police chief. He is a leader of this, supposed to be a leader of this community, and we prefer him to be honest. And if he gets caught doing something wrong, maybe he should take ownership of it. But rather than that, he's going to go hunt down the person and start an internal investigation. You think he started an internal investigation on himself to find out if he's lying? Nah, of course he did it. The other 2 incidents, I don't know. I know one was about a criminal case. And I don't think, like, as a criminal case is going on, like, I have information. People call me all the time about cases that are still opened that they think something wrong occurred in. And I could prove, obviously things are wrong, but I prefer not to jeopardize a case if I don't have to. If it's a big enough public interest, I'll do it. But I think, we should let the court system and the state's attorney's office take any plea they can get. So here it is. He's now looking for the person who basically leaked information proving that he was lying. Rather than correct and own that behavior, he's clearly going to continue it. And this is clearly, there's a lot of things to this that would make anyone believe. 1, behavior is going to continue. 2, what else is he lying about? Like I said, I have some information on that stuff. Maybe we'll put out later. I PIA request stuff and the police department denies it. Like, eventually I'm going to get tired of asking, and I already have most of the stuff anyways. I just want to go through the proper channels and do it right. And if they keep playing shenanigans, I'll obviously just ignore that and continue mission. And we'll just start putting that stuff out there. Other stuff, people have called me about and told me about that, lies he's told, basically hearsay. I'd prefer not to put that out because it just is hearsay. So just to let you know that this is occurring in your city, and if that's what you want from your leadership, that's what you're going to get, and all the stuff that comes along with it. If you're unhappy with it, contact Mayor O'Connor. Look him up on the Frederick City website. He's got an email address. You probably won't talk to him. You'll probably get Guyon Sampson. If you have any questions about it, hit us up on our email. It's 12immortaljudges@gmail.com. And we'll see you during the next episode.